When you say think and feel and think and feel and think and feel and feel and think and feel and think, do you mean doing that subject by subject, or is that something that you have to do?
Subject by subject, focus wheel by focus wheel. We'll give you an example with Esther. Esther's been listening to us for a long time, and she knows how to focus her mind. And she knows the benefit of focus, and she knows the detriment of lazy thought, and she understands it all. But we offered some encouragement back in January. It was the first time that we were really emphasizing the vortex in this way. We encouraged a sort of daily ritual of basking before bed, appreciating when you wake up, doing some focus wheels, doing your list of positive aspects, and then rampaging. And Esther, something about hearing it that day made her decide that she was going to apply herself more deliberately. And so for about 40 days, she followed that process, and she got feeling better and better and better. And from being consistently in the vortex, she got higher and happier and higher and happier and higher and happier, and she reached a new understanding. She wants to be in the vortex because of how it feels, not because of what else it will give her. Yes, it will give her fortune. It will give her answers to every question. It will give her more groundbreaking books. It will give her incredible relationships with those like you. Everything that she wants will be provided by being in the vortex. But she wants to be in the vortex because walking around the loop in Del Mar inside the vortex is infinitely more satisfying than walking around the loop not inside the vortex. Every conversation from inside the vortex is meaningful and fun, while conversations from outside the vortex are annoying and too long. In other words, life from inside the vortex just feels good. So that was a definitive switch for Esther. She moved after that 40 days of feeling the consistency of the vortex from thinking and feeling and thinking and feeling to reaching for the feeling first. Instead of, I'm going to think more positive thoughts, she started saying things like, I love this feeling of clarity. I love this feeling of fun. I love this feeling of interest. I love how this feels. I love how this feels. She began talking in terms of how things feel instead of how things look or how they seem or how they sound. It's how it feels. Do you feel this music, she would say? Do you feel this music? Not, do you hear this music? Do you feel this? Do you feel that? Did you feel how that music moved you? Do you hear that clarinet? Do you hear it, but do you feel it? Did you feel what it felt like to talk to that person? Did you feel how sweet that dog is? Can you feel this air? Do you feel this world? Do you feel? It's how you feel. It's the being who I am. It's having the experience of what's out there from in here, where who I really am is feeling. You have these physical senses that serve you really well. But when you let the vibration of who you are radiate through those physical senses, that's feeling, you see. That's why emotion is the business of life.
It sounded a lot like savoring and a lot like milking
basking, mulling, milking.
Finding as many positive aspects as you can. Yeah.
For the purpose of how it feels.
Right.
Not for the ulterior motive of getting someplace else, but for the purpose of how it feels. And when you get there, then you close the gap between not having things you want and having things you want so quickly. When you get into the vortex for the joy of being in there, rather than because you know that when you get in there, something else that you want will happen, then you take away the resistance factor. In other words, if you're outside the vortex without something you want, like money or a relationship or whatever. So you say, I'm going to do the processes and I'm going to get in the vortex so I can have those things I don't have. Feel the backlash? I'm going to do the process so I can get in the vortex so I can have those things I don't have. You keep ending up where you are. But when you say, I'm going to go to the vortex because it feels so good in the vortex, there's less of the backlash that holds you where you are. You go for the feeling of it, not for the ulterior motive of being different than you are.
But it is possible to think about something you want and you don't have and use it as your excuse to get in the vortex. It's only when you keep score and you say, well, where is it? Or, do you know what I mean? Well, because there is pure desire.
Yes, there is. But the thing that makes that statement not completely accurate is that when the desire is that pure,
you don't care.
It manifests immediately, and then you've got it. There's no possible way that you can, for a long period of time, positively desire something with the absence of resistance and hold yourself in that place of not having it. The laws of the universe defy it. So that's why we say, when you get this stuff, you don't need patience, because everything you want comes quickly. You can get in the back door easily when you realize that everything you want is because you think you'll feel better having it. Mm-hmm. So if you can feel better just in the idea of it, then there's no resistance, and now it comes quickly. And what happens to so many of you, you begin to discover that you wanted that and you wanted that and you wanted that because you wanted to feel good. And now you've got all of that, and now you don't feel good because you've got clutter. Abraham, I've got 14 high-powered cars in my driveway. I thought I wanted all of them, but now they're in my way.
So then
that's just 20 boxes and number them.
That's just a new desire then. First you had the desire for the stuff, and then you get the desire for the minimalist experience. Here's the thing. Well, not minimal. Here's the thing. You have desire for stuff because you think that you're going to fill a void with the stuff. In time, you begin to discover that the only thing that fills the void is alignment with who you are. We're not trying to talk you out of your stuff. Stuff's fun. It's just not what you're reaching for. You're reaching for alignment. You're reaching for the feeling. So maybe stuff makes you feel secure. Maybe stuff makes you feel successful. Maybe stuff makes you feel comfortable. There's a lot of stuff that's really comfortable. There's a lot of stuff that really enhances your experience. We're not trying to talk you out of your stuff. We just want you to acknowledge is a better word. We just want you to acknowledge is a better word. We just want you to acknowledge that everything you want is because you think you will feel better when you have it. And when you get over the hurdle that you can feel better even if you don't have it, now you can have it. That's the trick. It's the feeling good in the wanting.
Now you can have it, but it becomes less necessary. So that's what's really tricky. What you really want is a passing parade of wonderful stuff through your life. That's what you really want. In and out, just like air. In and out, 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 in and out. You don't want security. You don't want to gather a bunch of stuff and hold it to you and write your name on the bottom of all of it.
Insure it.
And insure it and drag it around. You don't want that. What you want is a new idea that is out of reach, that you bring yourself into alignment. Because the moments in time from it being out of reach, and you're recognizing that nothing is out of reach, and then those moments of you coming into alignment with it, that is the zest and thrill of life. That's the sweet zone right there. The best of life is in the moving into alignment and claiming your new position and then reaching again. And the best of life is moving into alignment and then claiming your position and then reaching again. That's why you're eternal. You keep loving the reach, you see. It's not the getting there, it's the going there.
I was so happy coming here this morning. Thank you. And I'd like to talk about worthiness. Or lack of worthiness.
Get in the vortex, that's where it is. Next.
Okay. Can't we have a little more entertainment than that?
This day could go very quickly. Each person sits in the chair, asks their heartfelt question. We tell you to get in the vortex and move on. Well, isn't that what worthiness is? Isn't worthiness vibrational alignment with who I really am, who knows with no question the fullness and the value of who you are? In other words, that is all worthiness is. It's alignment with who you are. A feeling of unworthiness is some deviation of that, period. So think about the kind of thoughts you are thinking when you feel unworthy. Give us a statement that someone might make in the midst of feeling not worthy.
I'm not good enough.
So that's bogus, because the source within you knows differently. So when you say I'm not good enough, you are contradicting what you really know and who you really are. So that feeling of unworthiness, what's another way to describe the feeling of unworthiness? Your society has come to characterize it in religious terms primarily. But what does it feel like when you feel unworthy? Give us some emotional words. Depression, shame, disappointment, discouragement, guilt. So what do those emotions mean? All of them. All of those empty feeling emotions mean this thought keeps me empty of who I am because it's bogus. I'm thinking this thought that my inner being won't think about me. Oh, inner being, please come over here and think this unworthy thought with me. So, what is there to do? Every feeling of negative emotion means you've separated yourself. That's too strong a word, but it will do for the example, from who you really are. The only way to fill the void is to put yourself back into vibrational alignment with who you are. So you have to make some effort to try to think the way Source might think about you. Part of what happens, and the reason that unworthiness runs rampant, is because man has distorted who he thinks God is in such extraordinary ways. He has turned God into an out-of-the-vortex judgmental being. So then he can't please God no matter what he tries to do, because everybody says that God says to do something different about almost everything. And so he has given up his own guidance system, so now he's upside down and all around. He's lost his sense of guidance. But we've got to tell you, the Source within you adores you so much that when you think a thought that is other than that, you go right out of range of Source. Source never stops feeling it about you, but you vibrate yourself right out of range. And then you say, I feel unworthy. And we say, that's ridiculous. Just vibrate yourself back into range. Just vibrate back into range. Well, how do I do that when I'm so terrible? Stop saying that, for one thing. Stop beating the drum of it, for another. Start looking for evidence of some well-being or some goodness within you. It might be buried deeply, but it is in there. Look for it, look for it, look for it, look for it. When you look for it, you always find it. Until before you know it, you feel like you are. So, you've asked a really big question. Because at the center of the discussion around worthiness is the discussion of wholeness, of autonomy, of alignment, of being in the vortex, of being who I am, of being a vibrational match to all that I am. Every emotion is about that relationship with that wholeness or that worthiness. Let's call it wholeness. So how can I be whole? Stop splitting yourself with bogus thoughts.
And when I do, bring myself back.
You know what to do. You know that the manifestations will show themselves to you. It's really interesting. Have you ever heard yourself in the middle of a conversation that you never wanted to have? And you can't believe you're even saying what you're saying. It's like the devil made me do it, you say. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I can't stop myself because, well, all that's happened is that you've gotten caught up in a vibration that is such a departure from who you are, because someone holding you as their object of attention is vibrating there, and your practiced vibration is not sufficient enough, so they just sort of bring it out of you. So when you start playing the I want to be in the vortex game, I want to feel good, I want to be all that I am, I want to see the world through the eyes of Source, you won't be drawn into so many of those conversations because your vibration will be more in vibrational alignment with who you really are. So then what they'll draw out of you are compliments and great ideas and conversations that are leading edge and exhilarating. Then what they'll draw out of you is laughter and funny jokes and clever movements and motions and coordination and cooperation and gay abandon. In other words, it'll be the best drunken party you ever had because you'll be in alignment. That's why so many of the parties need to be drunken parties. They have to drink down the resistance. They drink the resistance down so that they can harmonize on more aligned levels. Seriously.